All right. Allen Robinson is a Los Angeles Ram.
That is right.
Which is so weird to say, but we're going to talk about how this impacts his dynasty football outlook.
Mm-hmm.
How does his dynasty value change? Is this something we like? Is this something we dislike? The contract is a 3-year deal worth $46.5 million, which if you're Jacksonville, I don't know, man. I mean, let me do some quick math here as we're recording this video.
I think it's 6 million.
That is
6 million more.
15 and a half per year. And I think Kirk is going to make 18 or something like that.
He's going to get more money right now, according to this trade, which is...
Yikes. We're not here to discuss that part of it, but let's talk about Dynasty. You know, I have some pretty strong feelings on this, but I want to hear your opinion first.
Yeah.
How does this change it for your rankings and stuff?
Absolutely. Look, this is definitely... I'm in a weird place right now, for sure. I know the biggest thing people are worried about, now there's too many mouths to feed. You know, you have Roberto Woods, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, if he does resign, where there's a lot of interest, a lot of reports saying that they likely are going to resign OBJ, Van Jefferson as well. So where are the targets going to come from? You know, where's Allen Robinson is going to get his share? We really don't know. So right now, he is my wide receiver 35. I did move him up 5 spots to wide receiver 30. I do believe he's going to have a fantasy impact. He does go and is going to get a connection with one of the best quarterbacks in Matthew Stafford, now a Super Bowl champion. Let's not forget what Matthew Stafford used to do. He used to throw the ball deep and used to be a wide receiver, or he used to have a wide receiver. Yeah, he still does. He used to have a wide receiver like a Kenny Golladay who used to do amazing things. And Allen Robinson has a similar talent. Okay, but let's not forget that, you know, from 2018, Allen Robinson was third in league with tight window catches. Okay, and I think that's huge because, like you said, Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford and now Allen Robinson, these guys like to throw the ball deep, and Matthew Stafford loves to take chances. So, you know, who else was there? And that was Kenny G since 2018. So Matthew Stafford is going to utilize and knows how to utilize somebody like an Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's my issue, though, right? Just quickly, 2018. You know what I mean?
It's from 2018. From 2018.
No, I get that. And I guess the way I'm thinking about it is like, man, so much has changed 100%. In 4 years. And by the way, agree. Kenny Golladay is already, like, in my opinion, kind of taking a step back. And it's so I don't want to interrupt you. I have some thoughts, but
no, absolutely. So once again, biggest question is, where are these shares going to come from? I think the biggest hit and the biggest, you know, downfall for anyone here is going to be Van Jefferson and Roberto Woods. You're not going to sign Allen Robinson to a 3-year, $46 million and say, you know what, you're going to be, you know, you're probably going to average less than 70 targets, 60 targets per game or per year. There's no way that's going to happen. They are going to share the ball. They're going to throw the ball. And, you know, they're probably trying to even out this run game and do everything. But I think this offense is going to change. Sean McVay brought in Allen Robinson for a reason. Okay, let's not forget what the man can do. 2019, 98 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, wide receiver 8. Obviously, he was getting all the targets. He had 154 targets that season. 2020, 120 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, wide receiver 9. Once again, he was still leading that team in targets. He was third amongst wide receivers in targets in those past 2 years. I don't think he can finish as high as that anymore. I do believe he's still a top. Now with Matthew Stafford, I bring it back to that conversation. He's a top 12, top 15 wide receiver in my opinion. If OBJ comes, I think it's a completely different conversation. The only way this is successful is if OBJ does not get re-signed. If not, I think it's a downhill because it's easy to see and picture that Robert Woods and Van Jefferson are going to take a massive drop in share. But if OBJ comes in, it's going to be very, very interesting. Okay,
so, you know, one thing that you had mentioned is Robert Woods is going to take a back seat. I mean, look at what they signed Allen Robinson for. But Bobby Tree still has 4 years left on his contract.
100%.
And it's worth more. It's worth more per year than Allen Robinson. So
I think they can trade him too. That's an option. They do have an out.
I don't see anyone taking on this trade, and I don't see them not keeping Robert Woods. He's been a crucial part of this team for a long time. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
So, but right now he's on the team. So I'm going to talk from that perspective. Okay, so he does go up in my rankings from wide receiver 42 to wide receiver 37.
Mm-hmm.
Can't move him higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in love with this move. I really am not in love with this move. If I'm an Allen Robinson owner, I don't feel great about this. I feel great about the offense, but I don't feel great about the situation at all. And,
right.
Again, yeah, we can talk about how the wide receiver room is busy, but let's like break this down a little bit more. Because to me, I don't think Cooper Kupp is going to get less of a target share. Does it make sense for one of the best wide receivers in the game right now to just get less targets because Allen Robinson comes in? In my opinion, no, it doesn't make sense. And maybe he gets one less target a game, but I don't see his target share going down quite significantly after this move. And, maybe you were able to sell Cooper Kupp, and props to you if you were able to do that before this news, because now it gets his value definitely lowers in people's eyes, I think. Not tremendously, but slightly. So hopefully you were able to take our advice and sell him, as we've been saying really for the last 2 months, for peak value, multiple firsts, that kind of deal. But let's look at the targets last year. I mean, Cooper Kupp, 10.6 targets per game, 191 targets on the season. Okay. Robert Woods was getting 7.6 targets per game in the 9 games that he played in 2021. That would equate to 138 targets on the season if he played a full, healthy year. Then Van Jefferson was the third guy most of the time. He had 89 targets this year, right? 5 per game. And now OBJ, 6 targets per game while he was with the Rams. We already didn't know what OBJ would look like if he was back in this team and it was him, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. I mean, that's already 4 wide receivers that deserve targets. I think Van has shown himself to deserve a target share. I mean, it feels like Allen Robinson is just going to get the leftovers. I don't see him being I definitely think he's going to be relevant, but I don't think that this is something that I'm super excited about. And if OBJ does resign, that makes this even worse. I mean, this is all very, very good for Rams fan. This is very, very good for this Rams team. But I'm not so certain that now Robert Woods is taking a back seat, because he's proven himself to be a good wide receiver. He's proven himself to operate really, really well at the slot in different areas on the field. So I don't think he's taking a back seat. I think maybe Robert Woods and Allen Robinson are both going to be impacted. I don't see these guys getting more than 7 targets per game. Maybe they both get 6 targets per game.
Yeah.
And that's valuable, but at the same time, that's not someone like, why were we always in love with Allen Robinson? Because of target share. He was always getting top 5 targets every year.
Right.
And we can't forget that this team does want to run the ball successfully. So it's not as if this team is going to automatically turn into the Bills and now Matthew Stafford is throwing 50 times per game or whatever that looks like. They still want to establish the run. McVay has been very open about that. And while there be less targets, will it be more efficient? Yeah. I mean, look, Allen Robinson is definitely going to be better this year than he was last year. There's no denying that. I'm absolutely not saying that that's not the case. But here's what it all comes down to. Will Allen Robinson be a consistent starter in my lineups? I don't think so. I personally don't think he's going to be able to be a consistent starter for the next 3 years for your dynasty team. There will be games where he wins you weeks. There'll be games when he puts up 25 points, but there will be games as well when he puts up 5. Like, it's going to be up and down because he isn't the alpha. He's never been on a team and not been the alpha. He's never been on a team and a team that's even had a really good wide receiver too. I mean, think about his time in Jacksonville. It was just him. Of course, he dominated the target share. In Chicago, of course, it was just him, dominated the target share. So he's never been in a position where he's not the alpha, and he's never been in a position where there's even a good wide receiver 2 on the team. Now we're going to a team that has 4 really good wide receivers, assuming OBJ is back already, a really good tight end, a run game where they have multiple running backs that they funnel through. This to me, again, like, it all comes down to, yes, his value is he's more valuable today in Dynasty than he was yesterday, but this is not my ideal fit by any means. And again, it all comes down to me thinking, if I own Allen Robinson, can I consistently put him in my lineup? And I don't believe that that's going to be the case. He will be valuable, but there's games where he's going to win you weeks. There's games where he's going to disappear. And I think it's great for the Rams team. It really is great for the Rams team. But for me, I'm not loving this fit. I'm really not loving this fit. And what we have to agree on is every season that you're going to point to and say how good Allen Robinson's been for fantasy, it will be 100,000% connected to a target share that is top 5, top 10 in the league. Okay. And that's not going to happen.
So the way I kind of see this is that, I see this as, even though there is, yes, this is the way I see it. I see this as the Bucs, right? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. It was the exact same thing. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin were still fantasy relevant when Antonio Brown came in. A lot of people said that, well, somebody's going to have to take a back seat. We even said, I think we said Mike Evans is going to take a back seat when Antonio Brown does. Granted, they do have Van Jefferson as well, but I don't think he demands a massive target share. So maybe that's a good perspective potentially to kind of go into and be like, what would that look like? And
let's just talk about that 1 second though. There were weeks that you got destroyed by starting Antonio Brown. 100%. There were weeks he went up and put up 3, and 5
the thing
points.
Is, I don't think Allen Robinson is Antonio Brown. I think Allen Robinson
Antonio Brown is in a much better situation. He's a much more talented wide receiver.
I think Allen Robinson will be. So is Cooper Kupp equivalent to Mike Evans? Allen Robinson equivalent to Chris Godwin. That's how I'm seeing it in a fantasy perspective. That's how I'm seeing it. Like, I think that's how the workload could go. I understand everything you're saying, 100%. Yeah. It's connected to the target share. This is probably not the best situation. I agree. It's not the best situation. I don't think they'll pay somebody so much and not utilize him, or not. If he gets a minimum of 60, 70 targets, they failed and overpaid, Well,
here's the thing though. $15.5 million per year. That's not crazy. Like, that is the team friendly deal. It's not as if he is being paid $23 million a year some of these other top receivers are getting. And also, the thing that's in the back of my head is last year was a terrible situation for him. Terrible. However, there were times when he could have been better as well. I'm not saying he's lost a step. I still believe in him as a talent. But man, we can point to the Bucs, but who was the fourth wide receiver on the Bucs? What? There was no OBJ, right? There was 100%. No Van Jefferson. I guess maybe you can make the argument, Gronk would have been that player for them in the offense,
right?
It's just difficult, man. It's difficult for me to, again, and like Antonio Brown's, that's a good comparison there, not skill wise, but fantasy relevancy.
Yeah, just fantasy relevancy for sure.
You wanted Antonio Brown in redraft, but even in redraft, you couldn't consistently start him. There were weeks where we were like, oh, Antonio Brown or this, Antonio Brown or that, on our live streams, and it was like, dang, 100%. That's really difficult, because honestly, Antonio Brown could win you your week, but he also could do nothing. I mean, that's how many options there are on this offense. And it's difficult. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is the Bucs. They ran the ball the 31st most times. Okay, so they didn't run the ball much as a team either. That's something that we have to keep in mind.
They led the league, and I think in throwing attempts as well, which is a little bit different.
They were up there, and the Rams do want to be a two-dimensional team. I don't know, man. Like, of course, I love this for Allen. I'm glad for him.
Yeah,
but
100%.
It's hard, man, for me to see. It's hard for me to get super excited about this, and I want to be wrong, but it's.
I'm on the other side. Like, I can see how, like, there's a lot of people worried. The first thing that went up in our Discord was like, it's just too many mouths to feed now, and I think things can change really, really as we get close into the season. I won't be surprised personally if Van Jefferson is gone somehow, if Robert Woods is gone somehow. If Robert Woods is not even healthy enough at the time, maybe that's a huge concern. Maybe
I think he's going to have enough time to come back. But the thing on Van Jefferson you have to keep in mind is, like, teams are never going to get rid of team-friendly deals. Van Jefferson's contract is super cheap right now.
Right.
And by the way, if they sign OBJ, this is a nightmare, in my opinion, for fantasy. It's great for this team, but if OBJ comes back, it's a true nightmare.
If OBJ signs, I think there's even more question of Cooper Kupp. I feel like the fantasy community will be like, well, no, I don't know.
It's
about
not
Cooper
good.
Kupp.
It's not great for anyone there if Cooper signs. By the way, right now Van Jefferson's making $1 million a year for the next 2 years, so he's not going anywhere. That's a massive steal. Man, I get where you're coming from, but I have concerns. I do have concerns.
Absolutely. So do I.
If I have him on my team, I'm not super excited about this. I would much rather have him gone to a team that needed him, and he would have had that high target share. But this will be interesting. I think he's going to be more valuable for sure. It's just, again, the consistency is the issue, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about where we're comfortable taking him in a startup draft. He was going round 11 to 13.
Correct.
Now, I personally imagine him going where Amari Cooper is, around that kind of range, which is round 9-ish. I think that's where we're going to see Allen Robinson off the board, round 9-ish.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be investing into him at this time because of the concerns I laid out. But what about you? Do you feel like he's going to go there? And
no, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think round 9, late 8, early 9 potentially. I want to throw some names. I think there's scenarios out there that people could be in question. Allen Robinson or now this is hard. Allen Robinson or Mike Evans?
Easily Mike Evans.
Allen Robinson.
They're in a completely different tier for me.
I'm just going through the names that go 1 in the 9th. Allen Robinson or Cortland Sutton?
Sutton.
Allen
Easy.
Robinson or Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper.
Allen Robinson,
Easy.
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow, easy.
Okay. Allen Robinson, D-Hop.
D-Hop, easy.
I would argue that he can go above Renfrow, above Amari Cooper, above Cortland Sutton. That's how I see it. If for me, I don't know how the fantasy community sees it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
For me, I more have him around the guys like Juju, Tyler Lockett,
Allen Robinson or Mike Williams.
Michael Gallup. Mike Williams for sure.
Okay.
For sure,
Okay.
Mike Williams.
See, there's so many different scenarios that can happen. There's a lot of people that are in question. Allen Robinson or Gabriel Davis?
That one's interesting because I would go Allen Robinson, but it wouldn't surprise me if Gabe Davis ended up being more valuable this year.
Okay. Yeah, same. I completely agree with that. Like it's back and forth.
All right, let's talk about his current trade value just to finish. I would definitely be interested in seeing what I could get for Allen Robinson in trade
100%.
right now if I have him on my team. If I can get any first in 2022, maybe the 108 to the 112, I would be willing to do that. And that more speaks to how much I like this wide receiver class. You can get guys like Pickens there. You can get guys like Olave, Jameson Williams. So for me, that's something that I would be looking to do. I don't know that you get a 23 first, but of course I would take that. Go target those teams who are win now teams. And maybe the hype is at an all-time high. Again, like I'm not trying to downplay this. I'm just trying to play maybe like just exactly what I'm thinking. Exactly what I'm coming from.
Absolutely. I agree. I think you can get a late first. There's opportunity there. I think before this trade, he was going, mid to late second, maybe early second, just really depending on the team, on your league's value and where they think and believe that he could have gone. This is maybe not the best case scenario, but he goes to a better offense. With a better quarterback. Great. So I think you can definitely get a late first, like you said, 1-8.
Someone out there is going to believe, like genuinely, you might think, nah, man, no, like, but I promise you, someone out there will believe in Allen Robinson in this situation enough to do that.
Completely agree.
And maybe you could get more, who knows? But all right, let us know. Where do you kind of sit on this? And honestly, I see both sides. I do see a side where he's relevant.
Agreed.
But there's a lot of ifs. If Robert Woods isn't there, if OBJ doesn't come back, do you know what I mean? If this happens, so to me, it's just hard, man. But I get it. I can see him be really successful there. Maybe it's risk aversion. I don't know. Comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.